that you got a chance to see them all kind of as a group. What do you
Yeah.
think so far? Is it compare and contrast to last year? You just kind of see what you
Yeah, in some ways there are a lot of similarities just in terms of, I think, preliminarily how they've gotten along and worked well with one another. Just there's a lot of synergy that way. It's early, you know, the Bahamas trip really helped with that last year, and so we won't have the benefit of doing that and getting those 10 full practices in those couple games. But this group has shown signs of real commitment to, and it's natural, it's not a forced thing, just a real commitment to and attentiveness towards one another.
Jamari, big important role to fill with Talon leaving. What does Jamari bring that might make this team look a little different than it did last year on the offensive side?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll say one thing. Defensively, he's got a knack. I mean, we keep talking about it, but he's just got a knack. He's really good at anticipating where the ball's going and getting into passing lanes. But he's explosive as he gets downhill. He's really been cognizant of trying to figure out how that works for him and not step on any toes. But you know, it's time for him to start stepping on the gas pedal a little bit for us and getting into that role. But he can create some stuff downhill. He can make plays. That's probably a real strength of his compared to even some of the guys last year, is the ability to create some stuff downhill. So we need him to try to do that, and he's been good at it.
Well, and Lamont, Nick could have finished his career anywhere
Yeah.
he chose to come here. What does that add to you guys?
Well, I mean, a lot of different things for us. Maturity. He's an incredible talker and communicator. I mean, I find myself constantly just saying something to him about how he's communicating with his teammates. He's unselfish. He knows how to play at one speed, which 99% of the time is a good thing. We'll work on that 1%, but he's going to find himself going really hard, and that's going to serve him well. He's long and athletic also. He's been around this league. He's really experienced. He's been in a lot of places. It's a great addition for us, and he's been a real great energy boost for this new group.
You seem to be really harping on all the details during practice. How do you feel like the guys are kind of taking what you're trying to teach them in the moment?
Yeah, really good. I mean, some of this stuff is new for guys that haven't been in our program. We're detail oriented. I think it's what has helped us achieve some of the things that we have, and you know, even some of the guys that were here last year, but we're redshirting. You know, for those guys, you find yourself worried more about what the other team's doing when you're on the scout team than what we're talking about. So this is the first time for them too. So just the concept of the difference between winning and losing in so many games this year will come down to something that was really controllable and had really more to do with concentration than anything, and just getting guys to start to realize that at an early point.
Jordan Butler kind of maybe got lost in the shuffle there at Missouri last year, but just watching him out here, when he's knocking down the outside shots at that size, what can he bring to the team?
Well, there are a lot of guys that can thrive in what we do offensively. One of them is a guy who's built like him that can operate and, you know, handle the ball from the perimeter and shoot from the perimeter. I think we saw what we were able to bring with BJ Mack even last year, and you know, BJ wasn't blessed with the height and length that Jordan is. So there's some real things that this offense could really do to highlight who he is as a player. Some real decisions that have to be made if he can get to where he can make shots on a consistent basis from the three-point line.
Yeah, Talon, BJ, Michi, those kind of your leaders last year. Who do you see kind of take over the leadership reins?
You know, it's hard. It's early. I don't really say these are our leaders. You know, I think those guys will emerge. Typically, it's older guys. It happens to be guys that have had a lot of experience, that are really comfortable, that have been around the block and learned a thing or two, and don't mind sharing that with their teammates. That's what it was last year for us. You know, oftentimes it ends up being guys that are out there on the court a lot too. It doesn't have to, but it just works out that way. And so we'll over the next months, that'll happen on its own organically, and you know, we encourage, and sometimes we put guys in situations where just to see, is a guy going to say something, is a guy going to emerge in this particular scenario, and then that kind of just does it on its own.
You're
Along
pretty
those same lines, when you need a big bucket, when there's a critical moment in a game, Talon, BJ, Meacham kind of filled that role last year. Do you have a sense of who may be kind of a go-to guy in a clutch moment, or does that evolve as well?
That I think it'll evolve. I mean, I think you can look at some guys like, you know, Colin Murray Boyles. That wasn't his role last year with that group. Can he evolve into that role? You know, for Nick, in terms of generation of offense, that wasn't really his role at Alabama. Can he emerge into a guy that just feels comfortable touching the ball and generating some offense through that? It's really hard to say with young guys like Cam Scott. There's a lot of guys, honestly. There are a lot of guys, and we had some guys last year. You know, Jacoby hit a game winner at Missouri. We had a bunch of guys that stepped up and made plays when they were called upon. Miles Studi's been around. Is this a real breakout year for him that way in terms of doing some of that stuff on his own? So I think the beauty of it is we have a lot of guys who have real potential to take over in some of those situations.
How would you say Cam Scott has handled being the hometown kind of superstar kid, staying home, and the expectations of him being so high? How has he kind of handled that transition?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job with it. It's difficult, you know, there's so much in terms of expectations and the way it all played out, but he's done a really good job so far. He's been tremendous with his teammates. I mean, he's been fantastic in terms of blending in with them. He's an incredible listener. Of all the things, the first thing that stands out when I think about Cam, basketball or otherwise, aside from just his overall general character, is he's an incredible listener. He's very intentional about paying attention to what you say and how that can help him become a better basketball player.
I know it's early, but what do you kind of expect from Oku Federico this year? And has the conversation of redshirt maybe come up at all yet? Or
So early. I mean, he hasn't been here quite
true.
yet. We're still trying to get that figured out. So, I mean, it would be foolish of me really to say, really make any comments about what I think that'll look like once he really gets in here and starts going up against competition.
You mentioned Nick's ability to generate offense a little more than what his role indicated at Alabama. He made a couple really nice passes from the elbow here today. And Colin's kind of the same way, can do a lot of the same stuff. What's kind of the benefit of having two bigs that can generate plays and make the way they can in today's basketball?
Well, when you think about skilled bigs, I think people oftentimes think if you don't shoot the three that you're not a skilled big, and I'd be here to argue that, and that's part of it, is being able to shoot but just being comfortable catching the ball out there, making a dribble, reading a screening situation and throwing it to one of the two guys that ends up being open. You know, it's easy for us to sit here and say, and I think people could do it. Hindsight's 20/20. In the aftermath, they can look back and say, I should have done that. But to do it when it's coming at you full speed, those guys have been able to do that so far this year, and I think it makes everybody. My aspiration is that all five guys on the floor at all times are a real threat to do something that helps us on the offensive end. And I think we have a team where I feel comfortable saying that about all the guys that we have, including all of our bigs.